So this week we're going to begin working with the spreadsheet component of OpenOffice. The spreadsheet component of OpenOffice is called Calc, aptly named because the main function of the spreadsheet is as a sophisticated calculator. Also, spreadsheets allow you to analyze numerical data and chart and organize that data. You can see here a sample spreadsheet being used as a loan calculator. In fact, the spreadsheet was the software package that initially fired off widespread use of personal computers in business in America. The earliest spreadsheet, VisiCalc, and then Lotus 123 really added to the spread of personal computers on business desks all over the country. If we look at this slide, we see some screen elements. First of all, I want you to look at the active cell. In the middle, you have the dark black outline around the active cell. That active cell is in column F. If you look up at the top, you see the column heading F, and it's in row number 10, the row headings over at the side. Up at the top in the name box, you see the coordinates of the active cell, F10. Also, in the formula bar, you can see that the cell contains the word scheduled payment. In the formula bar, you see the contents of the active cell displayed, scheduled payment. Down at the bottom of the worksheet, we see three tabs: P&I loan, EULA, and other templates, more templates. Those are the names of the sheets or pages in a workbook. A spreadsheet is actually a workbook. Typically, well, often, it's only one sheet, but you can have multiple sheets in the workbook, and that can be a very powerful feature of spreadsheets. As you can see down here in the bottom corner, we see sheet 1 of 3, indicating that we have a 3-sheet workbook here. And we will look at that later, but for now we're just going to work with simple 1-sheet workbooks. As we begin to enter data into a spreadsheet, we rapidly need to differentiate between label data and value data. Typically, the first character entered into the cell is used by the spreadsheet software to determine whether that cell contains a label or a value. Most often, a label begins with a letter. Whether it begins with a letter or some other character, a label is always used to describe data and may not be used in calculations. A quick visual check is that labels left aligned by default. The default alignment can be changed, but the default alignment does cue you to what kind of data you're working with. A value is generally begun with a number, not always, often a symbol, and it is used in calculations. The default alignment for a value is right align. There is a special kind of label called a numeric label. It's text in that it's descriptive and not calculable, but it does begin with a number. The way you can tell Calc that the text you're entering is actually a label text in spite of being numeric is by marking that with an apostrophe before you start the entry of the data. The apostrophe will not display in the cell, but it will mark it as a numeric label. An example of a numeric label would be any number that isn't used for calculations. I'm going to enter a simple spreadsheet, and as we go, I'll point out to you what we're doing. So I'm just typing in the labels that describe the columns, tabbing between the cells. Now I'm going to enter a label that's a little longer than the cell. As you can see, the next cell covers up part of it, a little red triangle appears. I'm going to fix that, but I must press enter first to finish the entry. Then I can just drag to make the column the right width. Now I'm going to enter a numeric label, starting with an apostrophe to indicate that this is just a descriptive number. It's left aligned. The number, the quantity, of course, is a value. It's right aligned. Label, value, right aligned. And now another numeric label, apostrophe, followed by the numbers in the descriptive label, and the value, right aligned, and a left aligned label. So you can see the spreadsheet building, with most of the numeric entries being values and being right aligned by default, most of the letter entries being labeled and being left aligned by default. But you do see this column of numeric labels building here, where the entry is visibly all numbers, but because it starts with an apostrophe, it is in fact treated as a label. Although you can certainly get away with putting in a numeric label without the apostrophe and then manually controlling the alignment, the reason it's best technique to do it this way is that way the label is never inadvertently included in calculations, and it's best to avoid that if you can. So that's the spreadsheet entered. And here we see the left aligned numeric labels, the right aligned values, and the left aligned genuine labels. One last tiny detail, this is the apostrophe